Ooh, look at my ears, look at my big monkey ears. I can fly to the moon. I've pinched them raw now and they're red. Brilliant, good. Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes you, the person sitting there in comfortable but very practical pyjama bottoms with giraffes on. Yes, it is me. Yes, you get to choose what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have Christian Paralisian. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly there, for their suggestions of 8 examples of video game revenge. Now, this is the thing. Retribution, vengeance, rewenge, whatever you want to call it, it has got some bloody legs to it. In fact, it's formed the backbone of a lot of our favourite narratives, be they in cinema, books, or of course, video games. Now, let it be known that I am definitely not on the side of seeking vengeance or revenge wherever possible. I'm definitely on the side of turning the other cheek and showing forgiveness instead. But still, I can't deny that it's not very satisfying to shoot somebody in the face after they've given you a lot of this. So let's take a look at it together, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 examples of purely ultra-satisfying video game revenge. Also, by the way, let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below, as well as any other suggestions you got for next week's episode, and say hi to me here in the live chat. I forgot which way was left and right then. Good on you, mate. But anyway, let's crack on with the list, shall we? Number 8, taking down Handsome Jack, Borderlands 2. If there's one bad guy that we all universally love to hate, it's got to be Handsome Jack. The man is so endlessly quotable while being such an utterly loathsome character that it creates an impossible situation where we want his reign of terror to end, but kind of want to hear at least one more decent one-liner before we pull the trigger. Can you imagine that? Just sort of like he's on his hands and knees, just like begging to stay alive. You're like, say something funny. Come on, funny man. Come on, funny man. I'm going to fill your jaw full of lead. That's dark. Throughout the narrative of Borderlands 2, we've seen this smug bastard kill Roland, end up obliterating Bloodwing, terrorize an entire population, and lock his daughter up against her will to manipulate her siren powers. That is enough shit for multiple villains, and yet here he is, just hoarding it all. What a bastard. At every step, Jack dogs the party, either throwing a wrench into the works or by taunting them relentlessly, so of course that sort of hatred is going to build to boiling point. Finally, after turning his fabled warrior inside out, Jack is left alone, begging for his life while seething with rage, and when you pop that last round into him and silence his mocking forever, well, I tell you, my friends, it's as satisfying as opening up a loot chest and finding it fully stocked with only epic grade quality stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of also empty in a way, kind of as empty as this game's late game content once you've done all the challenges. It's a weird feeling. Number 7, catching up with Edgar Ross, Red Dead Redemption. In one of the best examples of, and at the same time lessons against revenge, Red Dead Redemption offers up a pristine moment of gaming, which is quite unlike anything else I've witnessed before and will take some doing to unseat it from the top of the mountain of just big bad banter boy moment. 2 big gorilla thumbs up for this. For while the main narrative is primarily focused on John Marston's quest to do right by his family and make peace with a country that he's wronged in the past, this is, as the title suggests, actually redemption and not revenge. He's trying to replace what he took rather than return what was taken, so it falls to his son Jack to fulfill that role. So come the close of the main game, John has been... what's the best way to describe it? Ventilated hard by government officials and falls dead to the ground. But he has bought peace for his family. That's his redemption story. Jack, well, he turns it into revenge by hunting down the one man that he sees responsible for his father's death, Edgar Ross. Sorry, his real name, Edgar Ross. Cue an epilogue showdown that is soaked with tension and emotion as Jack finally confronts Edgar and plugs him with round after round. It is the purest form of revenge. No frills, no pomp, just Jack settling the score. But the problem then arises of what's going to happen next, because Edgar Ross, even though he's retired, he's definitely still part of the government, and his death is going to start raising questions and start pointing fingers, teaching us all that revenge is indeed cyclical. Number 6, finally killing Uncle Paulie, the Darkness. Ooh, this one hit pretty hard, didn't it? Now this is the thing, playing the Darkness and playing as Jackie Estacado means that you're not exactly playing a character who wears a white hat. He is, after all, involved in the mob, so he's not exactly got a clean conscience. But when he's compared to Uncle Paulie, who is a literal human scrotum that has been tasered into an angry expression, he looks like a bloody angel by comparison. In fact, if you were to put them on the two scales, you've got Jackie being a fan of the old slime Jesus, praise him hard. But then the other side, you've got Uncle Paulie, who, let's just say he's done a deal with the devil, and the deal with the devil is Beelzebub. Uncle Paulie, in a bid for control of the district, attempts to murder Jackie and then goes on to use his corrupt cop pal Eddie to kidnap his girlfriend Jenny and then proceeds to execute her right in front of you. Somebody smell something cooking? Smells like a big pot of fuck you, Paulie! From here, using his demonic powers and an arsenal that seems never-ending, Jackie tears up the city, leading to you finally being able to plug that fat lump Paulie at the top of a lighthouse, even with the Darkness telling him that it will consume Jackie's soul if he goes through with this revenge. He still does it. It is a powerful moment, incredibly satisfying, but one that leaves things very uncertain going forward into the Darkness too, which again is a brilliant game, and in fact, it's a chef kiss franchise from start to finish. Play it if you've not played it already. It's fantastic. Number 5, finally getting home, The Warriors. So let it be known, my friends, that I, Jules Gill, absolutely love the 1979 film The Warriors. It's one of my favourite films that I've ever seen. Yes, that I know it can be a bit campy in places, and yes, I know it can be crap in other places, but still, its flamboyancy, its over-the-top nature, its violence, and its message of a gang just wanting to get home, whatever it takes, it's just really engaging and fun to watch. And so I was completely bowled over by the video game adaptation as well, not just because it was utterly brilliant, but because it hits all of the high points of the film while adding in even more depth, which fuels this story with a good dose of revenge. Now, originally, the Warriors are created because they were betrayed by their old gang, the Destroyers, and helping them get vengeance here is a brilliant tale in its own right. But the final battle with the Rogues, who wrongly accused the Warriors of killing Cyrus in the beginning, well, that is genuinely exhilarating. As you beat up Luther in one-on-one combat and then take him and the rest of his gang down when they decide to play dirty, it is so rewarding. But it is not as rewarding as the final scene that plays out. Now, this is different from how it happens in the film. The film just basically shows the Rifts crowding around the Rogues and them screaming out in pain. Here, you get to witness the beatdown. And while it is utterly bloody and pretty brutal, it is so satisfying for all of the damage that this group has done to you. Yes, big love for this game. In fact, it's so brutal, the credits can't even steal focus. Number 4, Asura's Wrath and the original God of War trilogy. Now, I know that it might seem a little bit cheeky to put two very separate franchises together as one entry on this list, but have you ever noticed that when you put them down on paper, they're really similar? I mean, they both center around very angry men who just want revenge for those taken from them by actions of a corrupt pantheon of gods, and both use an unhealthy amount of rage and violence to settle the score. Plus, every boss battle that you encounter begins the fight bragging about their powers, only to be left begging at your feet for forgiveness, and it never gets old when you say no. In both games, you humble every toga-toting tosspot and dole out some devastating digs to deities who, well, basically looked at you the wrong way. It is incredibly satisfying in both games, and although while Kratos doesn't really get his vengeance, as it were, I mean, he kills a lot of stuff, but he doesn't really forgive himself, which is kind of part of the deal until the PS4 outing. At least in Asura's Wrath, we got to see him finally land that devastating blow to what kind of looks like kebab meat wrapped in tinfoil. He does, take that. And then he's free and he's happy. Turns into a butterfly. That's what happens. Yeah, listen, can you prove me wrong? Have you ever punched something so hard that you've turned into a butterfly? No, then you're not punching hard enough. Long story short, play both franchises. Number 3, overloading Mengsk. StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm. Now, if there are two words that will elicit an ungodly amount of hate from any StarCraft player more than Zerg Rush, it is Arcturus Mengsk. Because this guy, well, he's a f***er. This guy is quite possibly the biggest chode this side of the void, and throughout the majority of the StarCraft lore is shown to be a ruthless and despicable dictator who chooses time and time again to sacrifice his own armies in order to protect his hide. A side note, I know that this is how most Terran players actually play the StarCraft game, by just sacrificing their own units to bait in other players, but still, he's definitely a bigger dick than all of them combined. And you want to know why? Here's why. I'm like a mini Simon. Because one of his biggest mistakes was in his treatment of Sarah Louise Kerrigan, known to us better as the Queen of Blades. By leaving her for dead and allowing her to be assimilated by the Zerg, he solidified himself as a bad mama who was going to end up getting jammered by Kerrigan's new Zerg appendages. And you know what? The scene in which he finally gets his comeuppance is just so perfect. She bursts in there. He looks like he's got the upper hand. He electrocutes her using his weird little toaster oven that he's got built into his office. Who does that? The architecture alone. Not even thinking about that right now. And then she's like, oh no. And then the guy with the skull mask comes in. He's like, wow, easy there, darling. Easy there, darling. I'll help you. Bang, 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 ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo. And then she goes. That was his awful, just raining down onto the people below. That's exactly how it happened, though. Tell me I'm wrong. Number 2, defeating Sephiroth. Final Fantasy VII. I think it's fair to say that one of the biggest jaw-dropping moments in Final Fantasy VII came about when perennial winner of Goth of the Year every year, Sephiroth dropped down from the ceiling like a bat out of hell and plunged his cutlass of compensation straight through Aerith's chest. Aerith. I hate saying her name. It gets me all tongue-tied. I'm laughing, but I'm sad 'cause she died. It was a shockingly brutal moment, and in that one instance, players the world over pegged Sephiroth as the new number 1 on their list. This arguably blew the Shinra Corporation out of the water when it came to invoking our rage, which is pretty weird to say considering that this company is literally drinking the life force out of the planet. But what can I say? Emotional manipulation works. From this point onwards, we all had a burning desire to see Sephiroth fall by our hand. Even though, side note, technically Genova was the one that killed our favourite party member, but you know what, it doesn't really matter. We had a face to hate right now, and it was a very punchable one as well. The game had a drive, and it saw us go all the way through to the end, and when we finally landed that ultimate limit break on him and just absolutely clattered him around like a tin can, it was delicious. And I would do it again, every day, on repeat, because f*** you, that's why. Went real dark there, sorry about that. And number 1, cashing out Benny for good. Fallout New Vegas. Listen, you knew this was going to happen, right? It's me, it's a list that I'm doing. I'm going to talk about Fallout New Vegas. Damn it. And what a sweet tale of revenge this is. As thanks to this walking chessboard known as Benny, you take a slug to the skull, all because you were carrying a platinum poker chip which is vital to his plans. Thanks to the help of Doc Mitchell and a whole heaping of plot armor, you're back on your feet in rather short order and on the road to dish out some vengeance. Now, if you can ignore the admittedly brilliant side quests and stay focused on the main narrative, you'll find a path of destruction in his wake and a web of lies everywhere you look. Because each time you rock up to a location, everyone's like, nah, you just missed him. He popped on Mega Boss. He's gone to New Vegas. But you can't go that way. You got to go around a long way. Yeah, I know. Come on. Etc. It's so frustrating to arrive on the scene just after he's left, but when you finally meet up with the silver-tongued devil, you can decide his fate, and each is as satisfying as the last. In fact, you know where this is going, my friends. It's time for us to sing the many fates of Benny. Osley, are you ready, my friend? Benny! James Madhu, you ready, my brother?
As ready as I'll ever.
Now, I don't have lyrics for this, by the way. So I'm just going to make it up as I go along. Oh, Benny, I could turn your head into jam. I could slap your hand. That means sleeping with you, then strangling you in your sleep. Maybe I don't want you to die. Maybe I want to aim high. Maybe what I want to see is you get crucified. Yeah, it gets really dark. You can actually make him get crucified. Like, I know he shot you in the head, but Dude. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 ultra satisfying moments of video game revenge. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as any other suggestions you've got for next week's episode. It's been a real pleasure doing this video for you guys, and if you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. It's a personal gaming channel where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. But before I go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. I am a huge proponent of not seeking revenge. I don't think that you should continue on a circle of violence or hatred by basically saying, you've done this to me, I'm going to do the exact same to you, or even worse. I am very much in the idea of forgiveness and moving forward. It is an incredibly hard thing to do. Incredibly hard to forgive somebody if they have wronged you in the past, because there are some people out there who will do despicable things. But if you have the capability, the capacity to forgive, then it helps you move on in the long run quicker, because you would start detaching yourself from the situation. You realize it has no control over you. It realizes that it has no power over you and should not be dictating how you live your life. Do not live in somebody else's shadow that they've cast over you with their negativity. Reach out from underneath it, push it away, and say, I'm moving in my own direction. All right? Big love from me to you, my friends, and I hope that you can get there. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Peace.